Welcome back to r/revenge stories, where we read satisfying stories of people getting revenge on others that deserve it. Without any further ado, let's dive right into the stories. And the first one is an interesting one from r/pettyrevenge, and it is titled Revenge on Husband Through the Tiny Doggo. My husband and I adopted a little dog from a humane society shelter in April of 2018. She was estimated to be a year old at the time and had come from a hoarder's home. She's amazing, the best dog I've ever had. Super friendly, adorable, and loves to play. She gets along with anyone and any animal. Now here's the thing, she has a couple of very bad habits and they are hard to break. Had we gotten her as a puppy, I feel as though I would have had an easier time teaching her certain things. She's only 7 pounds fully grown, she is 3 now, so husband does not see one of her bad habits as a big deal. Jumping. I cannot stand the jumping, this girl can jump too, all the way to my waist at times, and when she's excited she will jump continuously on you, example, going for a walk, car ride, playing, etc. When she wants you to pay attention to her, she jumps. Guest coming over, jump on them. Sounds cute, but it's not. I've had moments where she will jump on me from behind and hit the back of my knee and I fall while carrying things. I've had moments where she jumped on me while wearing shorts that I got scratched by her nails. And also, to be honest, it is super annoying to me to be jumped on over and over while I am trying to leave the house to run errands because she wants to go. She rarely does it to me now because I correct her every time until she stops. But she has not stopped with him and she thinks it is okay. Husband does not mind, thinks it's adorable and encourages her to jump in his arms a lot of times. We have not argued about it, but I have expressed my concerns with it and that I feel we should be on the same page to train her to not jump on people. Fast forward to today, I had corrected her this morning after she jumped on me wanting attention. Husband did not say anything, but saw it. Just a few minutes ago, he stopped me in the hallway to talk to me and our doggo decides she wants his attention and jumped on him. She jumped and caught him right in the broveries, if you will, the crotch nuggets. Family jewels, meat kiwis, dong pillows, whatever you wanna call them. She got them, he kneeled over and made noises that can only be comparable to an overweight donkey wheezing after running a race. I stood there and watched as his body hunched over and with tears in his eyes he looked at our precious spoiled doggo and said the words, "Willy, no jump," before limping away to scrounge the freezer for frozen peas. I think he learned a lesson here, Doily is her name. And guys, as I have mentioned before, I am usually afraid of almost every single dog out there, and especially when they jump on you, I really dislike that. So this dog would literally be my nightmare. But then again, I gotta admit, this is probably one of the cutest revenge stories we have ever seen. And I'm curious if you have any pets, do they have any strange, weird/funny behavior like the dog in the story? Let us know in the comments. And the next one is from r/pettyrevenge as well, and it is titled Duct Cleaning Telemarketers Are the Worst. Short one, but it made me laugh when I did it. I got a call from one of those annoying duct cleaning telemarketers and decided to take revenge. I acted very interested and told him that they were all very dirty after this morning's rain. Then I asked if they come to my house for cleaning or if I have to bring them somewhere to be cleaned. He started asking me about the size of my house and I told him that I keep them in the backyard in a pen and offered to go outside to get one. I grabbed one of my duck calls and started yelling, "Leonard, get over!" and quacking into the phone. He tried to explain to me that they were a duct cleaning company, but every time he started, I quacked at him and started yelling at Leonard again. "God damn it, Leonard, get down from there! Stop squirming, Leonard!" and so on. Went on for about 5 minutes before he hung up. And guys, let us know in the comments your best ways to get rid of these annoying telemarketers, in case you have ever received a call like that. And in addition, please don't forget to post some star emojis in the comments and also like the video if you want to support me. Thank you very much in advance. And the next story is from r/pro-revenge and it is titled "Landlord is jealous of my income, raises my rent by $500, I screw him years later for $20,000. In the late 90s, wife and I were just married, just getting started, and we decided to dink, double income no kids, it for a few years to save up for a down payment on a house. And by the way, I love that expression, I've never heard of dink before. The dot-com bubble was still rising and I was a newly minted software developer. I had an entry-level job for a while and then got recruited to a new city and a new job that paid 3 times what I was making before. It was an offer too good to pass up. I ran the numbers and it was a no-brainer. By living frugally and saving my entire salary, living off just her income, we would easily have enough in a year to put 20% down payment on a new house. We rented an apartment in the new city that was listed for $950 per month. The landlord was a real estate agent who owned a 2-bedroom condo as an investment property. Let's call him Hank Wazowski. Hank was a thin, grey, no-nonsense guy. He was pleasant enough, but perfunctory, dry, and had no sense of humor. He made a point of explaining that under no circumstances was he responsible for maintaining the garbage disposal and that it was not included in the rental agreement and he would not be responsible for fixing it were it to break. Okay, he seemed slightly amused by us, a clueless, young, newlywed couple, but I could tell he wanted to rent to us because we were very obviously a safe choice as renters. We filled out the rental agreement and the credit check, and this is where my troubles began. Hank looked hard at the credit applications where I listed my job, software developer, and my income $75,000. For a 23-year-old in his second year out of college in the late 90s, this is a small fortune. And guys, I'm curious, what sort of salary would that be today? I think if you earned around $75,000 a year in 1990, that would probably be close to $300,000 to $400,000 per year today. Please correct me if I'm wrong. Throw in my wife's salary and we were over 6 figures in income, renting an apartment far beneath our means. Like I said, dink is the way to go when starting out.
I cannot believe how much money you make.
Hank must have said half a dozen times, muttering under his breath. I explained we were saving to buy a house and that we were only going to stay in the apartment a year. We might stay a few months after the term is over. Would months to months be okay after a year? Hank assured us that would be fine. We saw Hank only once during the year and he again mentioned my salary and how he could not believe that is what software developers were making. It was awkward and I gave a vague reply. Anyway, a year later we found a house to buy, signed all the papers and were making plans to move. The new house was not going to be ready until 2 months after our rental lease was up, so I called Hank to ask if we could, as discussed, simply extend the lease by 2 months before moving out. Hank assured me on the phone it would be no problem and he would send over an extension for us to sign. The extension arrived in the mail and it included a month-to-month clause and a $500 increase in the rent. I flipped out and called him. Hank, why are you increasing the rent over 50%? That is too much. That is more than my new mortgage is going to be. He was super condescending to me.
Rocky Moose, it's what the apartment goes for now. I would be losing money by renting it for less.
And by the way guys, Rocky Moose is the OP. I tried to reason with him, but it was very clear he knew we could afford the $500, had no choice in the matter, and he was going to screw us over as best as he could. He got angry with me for arguing my point, and I will never forget his parting words.
You don't have to like it, OP. You just have to pay it.
My wife and I tried to figure out a way to move out early by putting our furniture in storage for a couple months and crashing with friends, but it just was not going to work out. I swallowed my pride and wrote out the check for $1,450 for the extra month. A month later I wrote a similar check and then we moved out. I made sure the apartment was spotless before moving, but still Hank withheld $300 from our security deposit for bullcrap things that were just a way for him to squeeze a few more dollars from the kids who made too much money. $100 for cleaning? Sure. But $300 was obscene. In my mind, he had screwed me over for over $1,200 and there was nothing I could do about it. What made it even more infuriating is that I saw the ad Hank put in the paper after we moved out, and he listed the apartment for rent at only $150 more than we had been paying originally, not the grossly inflated $500 increase. And it did not rent. A month later I saw the same ad and he had lowered the price to $75 more than we had been paying, and I assume it got rented since the ad stopped appearing. Fast forward about 5 years, life is good, the house is good, we have a baby, and even though the .com bubble has burst, I am still employed. One day, out of the blue, I overhear one of my coworkers, Phil, a senior developer, talking to the guy working the reception desk. "Hey Mike, I'm expecting someone to drop off some paperwork for me. If a Hank Wazowski asks for me, tell him I will be right out." I freeze and get a taste of bile in my mouth, remembering how I had to write out that name on those checks all those years ago. There's no way it's the same guy, right? I walk over to the Phil who is still by the reception desk. "Phil," I say, "how do you know that name, Hank Wazowski?" Phil explains that Hank is his real estate agent. "I bought my condo through him several years ago. I'm selling my condo now so I can buy a house. So I'm going to ask him to be my agent again. Do you know him?" I tell Phil that I used to rent an apartment from Hank and describe what he looks like. Phil confirms the description. It is the same guy. Wow, small world, right? And on cue, right then the front door to the office opens and in walks Hank Wazowski. I stare in disbelief. He is carrying a folder of papers and does not recognize me. Phil and Hank shake hands and they talk for a few moments. I stand there silently wondering what to do. Phil finally says, "Hank, this is my friend Rocky Moose. I think you may have already met." "Yes, hello Hank, good to see you again. My wife and I were your tenants a few years ago on street. Remember the software developer who rented for a year, saving to buy a house? Well, this is where I work, here, with Phil." Hank eyes indicate he now remembers me and he is starting to put it all together. We shake hands and he says yes, of course he remembers, and asks how we are doing. "Oh, we are just fine, thanks for asking. Phil says that you are his real estate agent. Small world, isn't it?" Hank nods pleasantly. He still does not remember the details of our last conversation. I do some quick math in my head. This is the early/mid 2000s. The real estate market is very strong and easy money for any agent. The crash of 2008 is still a few years in the future. I start to think out loud. Selling the condo for around $150,000 to $200,000, and you are looking at houses in the $500,000 range. So that is $650,000 to $700,000 in total transactions. An agent getting 3% on the sale and the purchase is getting around $20,000 for his trouble. That is a good commission for the agent, isn't it? Hank's eyes flash and I can tell he remembers everything about me now. Phil is surprised at my passive-aggressive tone. I am enjoying the uncomfortable silence. Hank deflects my question, saying it's complicated, and he tells Phil to send back the papers as soon as possible. He shakes hands with Phil, looks at me, nods and goes to leave. "It was really good to see you again, Hank," I call behind him. He exits the building. As the door is still shutting, I say a bit too loudly so that Hank can hear, "Phil, don't sign anything just yet. I have a story to tell you." Phil looks at me and says, "Rocky, what the hell was that all about?" He looks pissed and confused at my behavior. I tell Phil the whole story, the rent, the $500 increase, the security deposit. "You don't have to like it, you just have to pay it, everything." "Phil, you cannot use this guy to sell your condo and buy a house. I hate him, he's evil. I will help you find another real estate agent, just use anyone but Hank." So the great thing about Phil is that, well, he's a great guy. He says he's a little surprised at my story and has always known Hank as a straightforward guy. "But I totally see him doing that to you," he admits. "There's no way I could use him now. What a dick." Then Phil's eyes lit up a bit. "What do you want me to say when I fire him?" I have special feelings for Phil now. We came up with a plan and I made sure there were some key phrases in Phil's repertoire. We planned it all out together in advance. My only regret is that I did not get to see Hank's reaction in person a day later when Phil made the following phone call while I stood behind him listening. Hi, Hank? It's Phil calling. Yeah, about that, I've decided to get some other quotes from other agent. I'm not going to sign up with you. Pause. No, you shouldn't give me a discount. You would be losing money if you did that. Pause. No, this is just a decision I've made. No, it has nothing to deal with Rocky moves. Pause. Well, you don't have to like it, Hank. You just have to accept it. Goodbye. And it was the greatest revenge I could have ever imagined. Through a chance meeting years later, Hank got screwed out of $20,000 in easy commissions. And the best part is, Hank absolutely knew it had everything to do with Rocky moves. And guys, now I am curious, what are your best karma stories? AKA stories where someone wronged you and then something bad happened to them later, AKA karma. Let us know in the comments. And the next one is an entitled diva revenge story from the wonderful Mama-san on our own subreddit, and it is titled "A Diva's Brother Went Pro Revenge Instead of Getting Mad." Way back when I was still a kid, my brother and dad went hunting and fishing every chance they got. They absolutely love spending time together, and one time they got their hands on tickets on the 50-yard line of the local NFL team. Unfortunately, for reasons I don't remember, my dad had to be in the hospital the day of the game, so dad asked his best friend to take my brother so he would not miss the game. Dad's friend refused any money from my dad and said he would cover anything my brother wanted so he could have a good time. Our dad was able to watch the game on TV and several times saw them sitting behind the bench. Sadly, he never saw his friend getting so excited that he was punching my brother in the arm. My brother was a tough kid and never told our parents that he was bruised on his arm and side. He even threatened me if I told. About a month later, after my brother got his driving license, our dad and his best friend had the bright idea to go fishing with my brother so they can drink beer all day. Now, beer does tend to go right through you, and being all guys, they just relieved themselves over the side of the boat. Not long after lunch, our dad's friend needed to do more than going over the side of the boat, so they pulled to the bank of the lake, and the friend commanded my brother to find a private clearing where he could relieve himself. A couple of minutes later, my brother leads dad's friend to the clearing he found. They each chose a side and both answered the call of nature, even using leaves to wipe themselves. When the beer ran out, they headed home. Now the next day, my mom got a frantic phone call from the friend's wife. The friend was in the emergency room with a severe rash all over his private parts. It was poison ivy. The wife was calling to tell my mom to get my brother to the emergency room to get my brother treated. My mother then had to explain that my brother is immune to poison ivy and must have forgot about it when he helped him find a place to relieve himself. It was after my dad's 50th birthday that my brother finally admitted to doing that on purpose. That is actually extremely interesting. How can you even be immune to poison ivy? That is definitely an immunity, or let's say superhero power, that I would love to have. And the next one is a little bonus from our own subreddit. Today I dug up story titled "They Should Tell Him" by user wrist disabled writer. A tiny bit of background. Since the lockdown, I've been helping my dad turn his normally in a classroom college math class into an online math class using Canvas. This has not been easy, starting with how to get dad a chalkboard to teach and a computer to use webcam and mic. Now for today, well, I've been watching the chat room of Zoom while he does lectures, and I usually leave the mute button on while he's lecturing unless I see a question from a student or I think there's a concern about what the board looks like when he's writing on it. To give a little more context, I have taken this class years ago, not from my dad though, I called him for help all the time, and so I know the material. Here is where I messed up. I did not know I did not turn off the mute button from conversations with another student about computer stuff before class, so when I saw dad made an error with forgetting to change up to 1 divided by x, I started laughing and saying, "Come on students, you need to tell him." And then dad said, "OP, I can hear you laughing but nothing else." I realized the mute button was off, told him the error and apologized in chat. Boy, did I mess up. You know guys, I gotta say, I'm really glad that I'm not in school anymore and not in college, or rather what we call university here, because I definitely would not want to partake in these online classes. I've heard nothing but bad things about them. But then again, what do you expect if you basically give the teachers/professors zero time to prepare and basically just expect that they pull out some magic tricks to make it happen? And guys, unfortunately, we have already reached the end of the video. I hope you enjoyed today's stories, and if you haven't already, please also go to patreon.com/ripeyoutube, where I upload exclusive Reddit videos starting at just $3 a month. This is a great way to support me in case you are interested, and the chance for me to become independent from YouTube revenue. Thank you so much for watching, please don't forget to subscribe and like the video, and I hope to see you again tomorrow.